This is a Housemade Podcast. We're your hosts, Nick Bobbin and John Vieira. We're here to cover your questions about home bartending. Let's get into it. Hey, you guys, welcome back. Episode number 6?
6, I think.
Nice. So today we wanted to talk about a project that we got invited to do. Our good friend Chris manages the Albertsons bar here in town, the big one that's down in Eagle. For anybody that doesn't live in the area, that's a supermarket that's the size of a stadium. And has a
it's like its own village.
Yeah, it has a pretty killer bar setup.
Gigantic food court, entire full bar.
But
it's wild.
He wants to do cocktail classes, virtual cocktail classes, and we sell our syrup there in Albertsons. And his class costs $30. So he asked us if a guest were to pay $30 and he would essentially go shopping for them at Albertsons, buy them everything they needed to make as many cocktails as they could at home, minus the booze, what would it look like? So that's what I did. So I took the $30, I went straight to the store, we looked around, right off the bat, half of it goes straight to a bottle of syrup.
Yeah, but
you can do so much shit with it.
As we'll find out, all of these recipes are cross-compatible with the house-made syrup, so you can add variation to the drinks that you're serving. But also, because it's a super concentrate, it's 16 ounces. You're only going to use an ounce per cocktail, in some cases less. So you can get at least 16
drinks
cocktails out of a bottle. So it's going to stretch pretty far, and the rest of these ingredients that you're going to be buying, citrus, things like that, are relatively cheap. So staying below that $30 mark was
relatively easy. Yeah,
it's not that bad.
So what we found out in doing this is the amount of cocktails that you're going to make was actually limited to the amount of booze that you had, not the actual amount of syrup. But so they're on the rest of it. We came across this soda water that it wasn't like a LaCroix. It actually had juice added to it, but no added sugar. It was called Spindrift.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's subtle. So when I think of stuff that
it came through, though.
No, yeah, it tasted great. When I think of stuff that has, like, juice added, a lot of times it's, like, nasty sweet. If you're going to add it to a drink, you'd be worried that it's just too sweet, like almost like mixing actual soda in your drink with our syrup, like say we're making a mule or something like that. You want to be careful not to add a bunch of extra sweet because then you're going to lose that balance. So Spindrift was really cool. They had a ton of awesome flavors.
Stuff like pineapple, raspberry lime, regular lime.
They had like
coconut.
Was there a blood orange one or was it regular orange?
I think it was I think it was orange. I think it was just regular orange.
I can't remember. But a bunch of really great flavors. Perfect for mixing, honestly.
Yeah. So also on my shopping list, I put lemons, limes, mint, and then pasteurized egg whites, a 16-ounce bottle, just because that was the smallest one I could find that they had at the store. So, yeah. So essentially, all that came up to $27.98 before tax, $29.66 after tax. It'd be more if you're in a state with CRV, just because of the cans and the tax. I don't know. That was an Idaho thing. So, but then to get right into it, I guess what I recommended everybody did first was mise en place their citrus. So peeling all the rinds off of it, cutting one of their limes into wedges, juicing the rest of everything. That way we had stuff to work with. And then we pretty much broke it down on spirit type.
Yeah, so you could get away with doing this with essentially one bottle of your choice almost across the board. If you're a tequila drinker, almost all these cocktails we're going to talk about, you can do with tequila, gin, vodka, whiskey. It's so up to you. It just depends on your preference. We've talked about this before with platforms like Lemon Drops, whiskey sours, being able to flip-flop ingredients, different citruses, different types of booze, get different results, which is another fun thing about using these house-made syrups is that they're just literally replacing the sugar component that's in the drink. So you can kind of go directly across. It's a wild mix and match game that you can play with this.
Yeah. So let's start with vodka because I think that is
Right.
probably realistically what most people are already going to have at their house. So just out of the little list that I gave, number one on the list for cocktails would be a Moscow Mule, obviously, because that's pretty premier. Lemon drop variation stuff with it is really awesome. Also, since I put egg whites on there, vodka sours, and specifically like a ginger vodka sour.
Yeah, which is, I mean, if you've never had one, it's
pretty dope.
it's actually good. Obviously, things like whiskey are good in there. They're a little bit better in my opinion because
Totally.
they have a little bit more body. But if you're a vodka drinker, it might be right up your alley.
But then on top of that, sour, since we also have these cans of soda water that are flavored, naturally flavored, putting something on top of that sour all of a sudden turns it into a fizz now. And now you can alter the flavor even more too.
Yeah, for sure. So make something with ginger and vodka, and then top it with a little pineapple fizz. Yeah, you can get pretty tropical with it.
Totally. And then I put a mojito on there too. I know they're typically made with rum, but you can still get away with the vodka.
Yeah,
It's not going to be as good.
Same idea. You're getting lime juice and mint, right? It's kind of it's a different delivery system for something like a mule. Same
Yeah.
flavors.
But so now we're talking about $30 worth of produce out of the grocery store, one bottle of booze, and that's 5 variations of cocktails that you have.
Right.
But so I guess let's unpack it because now just depending on what bottles you have,
Right.
you can just variation those 5-ish recipes and you can get radically different drinks.
Yeah, 15, 20 different cocktails. So real quick before we jump into that though, we kind of just with this whole process, due to the specific nature of it, we've been using house-made ginger syrup as this placeholder because it's so versatile. It tastes great with every kind of spirit. It tastes really, really great for things like mules and stuff like that. So it's on this list, but keep in mind that if you have other syrups or if you're not a fan of ginger, you could grab something like the house-made huckleberry syrup. Mm-hmm. And you could essentially do all these same things, right? Huckleberry
even
whiskey
the orgeat,
sours.
yeah.
Yeah, orgeat is fantastic as long as you're not allergic to nuts.
No, yeah.
But, it doesn't have to be the ginger. That's kind of what we're going to use just for consistency throughout this list and the idea of swapping out components just so that we don't get too overboard. But just know that you can literally grab any of these essentially and do the same thing.
Yeah, or if you just made simple syrup at home, just replacing out our house-made syrup with just straight simple syrup, and you're going to get just a plain result, right? It's not going to be a ginger lemon drop. You're going to get just a lemon drop.
Right. And depending on how much of a ginger kick, you can actually go half and half.
Yeah.
So if you already have simple syrup made for other stuff, you don't want to put that full ounce of ginger in it because maybe you're not super into ginger, or maybe the guest that you're making it for doesn't want it, fully stout. You can go halfway pretty easily with it. And, that's what's great about these ingredients is that you can build these cocktails and completely cater to your palate. So a little bit sweeter, a little bit less sweet, a little bit more booze, a little bit less, kind of whatever you want.
Totally. So let's start with the mule. So a mule is just 1.5 ounces of spirit, a full ounce of ginger, 1/2 ounce of lime juice, and then topped with soda water. And the cool thing about using all those spindrifts, just depending on what flavors you got, you can do that too. We also tried it with just the lime and negating the actual lime juice that we put in it and reserving it for another cocktail on this list too.
Yeah, which
did work.
It did work. I want to also urge everybody to not use, they sell that like really uber sour, just absolutely nasty juice concentrate in most grocery stores. They have lemon and lime.
Oh, yeah, so it's a pasteurized, it's a pasteurized juice, but it's a concentrate too.
Right.
So that doesn't directly translate.
It does not. If you
into
put an
lime
ounce,
juice.
if you put an ounce of that into a
fucking
drink that
good
calls
night.
for, you're absolutely done.
If you're going to use that, I think you need to actually probably expand it in water.
Probably, and you need to experiment ahead of time and know what the
that's-
ratio is.
That's a good episode. We should do that.
We should look at it. But I was just thinking about it because one of my old roommates actually did that, and we didn't think anything
Yeah.
of it. And we were trying to make drinks with that, and it is just
it just turned out like total
it
shit.
is so terrible. So, on the topic of extending the citrus as far as you can, especially if you know, maybe the grocery store only had one bag of limes left and you're making a bunch of drinks, you don't need to put that half ounce in your mule. You can use something like a lime flavored soda water, specifically a Spindrift would be great.
Yeah, well, I've tried it with LaCroix, and LaCroix is too essence-y. It
Yeah.
doesn't really come across.
Yeah, you don't really get the lime flavor. So that is what's cool about the Spindrift is you actually do get some of that in there.
Yeah.
And you can stretch that citrus even further.
Totally. But now, so that's the same recipe for a London mule, a Kentucky mule, a Caribbean mule, a Mexican mule. All you're doing is just going to swap out the spirit. You're going to get a totally different flavor out of your mule itself, but everything else is the same.
Yeah, and that is actually something interesting to note if you guys go out to bars or restaurants ever, and you know, instead of just being like, "Yeah, I'll get a mule because I want a mule," but if you're a whiskey drinker, they're absolutely fantastic with something like bourbon in there.
Yeah.
The place you go to will probably know what you're talking about if you ask for a Kentucky mule or even just say like a bourbon mule. It's such a simple concept that they should be able to do that. And if you haven't tried it,
Just try
I
it.
highly, highly recommend.
Totally.
Bourbon and ginger just taste incredible together.
Okay. And so let's also talk about a lemon drop because that's the same basic ratio as sours as well. So we're talking about 2 ounces worth of booze, then 1 ounce worth of sour, so just the juice, and then 1 ounce worth of sweet. So in our case, the house-made ginger syrup.
Yeah. And you typically want those sour and sweet ingredients to match each other. You want them to be relatively equal parts unless you are, you know, unless you try something, you're like, yeah, I kind of just want it to be a little bit more
crazy,
sweet.
yeah.
You can of course do that, but it also depends on your citrus. So sometimes when you get limes or lemons, they can be a little bit more or less
Tart, yeah.
tart. So you can play with it a little bit, but so lemon drops are crazy popular. It's a really, really good drink,
Mm-hmm.
and if you didn't tell somebody what it was, they probably wouldn't ask too many questions. They'd just be like, "Wow, this is delicious." They
Yep.
wouldn't be like, "What kind of spirit is this?" Blah blah blah. They'd
Yeah.
just be like, "Wow, I can't believe this is alcohol."
Yep.
They're really popular. Now, what's cool about making something like a ginger lemon drop is you are essentially going halfway between a mule and a lemon drop, which are two really, really good, popular, tasty drinks. So you kind of just, at that point, made this awesome 50-50 split between them. And I can almost guarantee, unless somebody does not like the flavor of ginger,
Yeah.
they're going to be all about it.
Which a lot of people think they don't like the flavor of ginger. But with doing this, I've run across a lot of people that actually enjoyed this because it's kind of like a candied ginger.
It is. So yeah,
it's still a little spicy
When people
that
think of ginger, a
people
lot
don't
of
think they
times,
like.
yeah, they don't think about the sweet component being in like a ginger beer or a syrup. They think of like just straight ginger or maybe even like pickled ginger or something.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I don't like pickled ginger.
Dude, okay, well, I didn't think I liked pickled ginger either, but like,
out
I
you do.
tried it and then I did. I feel like that's where a lot
Well,
of
there you
people
go.
are. Yeah.
I don't hate it. I'm not gonna like throw it up. It's just not like if somebody puts it in front of me, I'm like, I don't know if I really want it. But yeah, so that's the thing is, you may think that you don't really like ginger, but you should give it a shot because this might change your opinion since it's made with actual juiced ginger root. You get a lot of that spiciness to it too. So, which for me makes it. That's kind of what
yeah.
makes the whole flavor profile. So, yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah, and so with this particular cocktail, we're talking about 2 ounces of vodka, 1 ounce of house-made ginger syrup, 1 ounce of lemon juice. But if for some reason you had a bottle of like triple sec or Cointreau laying around,
Oh, yeah.
that it puts another dimension into that cocktail, and then it goes from like, oh, this is fucking good to like just punch your face off.
100%. If you guys are listening to this right now, do yourself a favor and jump over and watch the videos that we did about specifically these $30 cocktails. But we went through and did
I think we did
instructional.
every single one on here.
I think we did. We did instructional videos though, and we don't have the outtake footage that was at the end of it. But when we did the full ginger lemon drop with the Cointreau in there, it was sensational. Like we all, and we're not vodka drinkers,
No.
so like it absolutely blew my brains out. But yeah, go watch those videos. It'll kind of give you the rundown
On that.
all this stuff.
Okay, so then taking that ginger lemon drop that we just made, all we have to do at this point is add an extra ounce of egg white to it, shake it, strain it back on ice, and now it's a sour.
Yeah.
So, and all you did, you changed the flavor profile. Adding the egg to it is a weird concept for a lot of people, but it doesn't actually change the flavor dramatically. It's more of a texture and a mouth like feel, and it becomes creamier and smoother, almost like an Orange Julius, if anybody remembers what those are.
Yeah, sours, the texture of sours remind me of Christmas time when everything has like that like sexy kind of whip or froth to it. You go get a coffee drink.
Yeah, it's like a meringue almost.
Yeah. And even if you're like somebody that's like, you know what, I drink black coffee all year long. Well, guess what? Every now and then when it's Christmas time, you got to get something with all the sexy fluff to it, and it's good.
Like a breve foam or something.
And so that's essentially what a sour style drink is going to do for you with the egg white. You can of course make it without egg white. It's just not the same though. It's a little bit sharper when you have the egg white. It kind of it turns down the volume on some of that
flatter too. I feel like
it is. Yeah, no, it kind of just reins everything in. It's really, it acts like a glue. It kind of just it packages all of those flavors up pretty nicely for you.
Totally. And then just stepping off of that sour, if you were to add soda water to it, same everything, and just start topping it off with soda. Now you're going to get into a fizz.
Right. Something like a gin fizz is probably the most famous example, but once again, you can do it with any spirit.
Yep. And a good note is that same thing minus the egg is now what they call a Collins.
Yep.
So same basic recipe, 2 spirit, 1 citrus, 1 sugar, and then soda water is a Collins. No soda water and egg is a sour, and then the two together are a fizz.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. And I don't think a lot of people realize that that's how similar all of these cocktails are.
Yeah. I mean, well, I didn't realize that for a long time either. And the thing is, you start writing down recipes, maybe you just look something up online, and people always put the name brand in there, right? Brand representation, which is huge, and that's fine. But that makes every recipe look like it's that much more different.
Oh, yeah.
When in reality, if you break it down and you're just like, oh, so whatever brand, I don't give a shit. This is vodka. Whatever brand, orange liqueur, lemon juice. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
It's so simple. And once you guys make enough of these at home, write enough of these recipes down, watch enough of these videos, you're going to start to be in the exact same mode where
You're like, oh,
your
there's
brain,
only like 6 drinks in the world.
Your brain doesn't go toward how do I make this? It's going to turn into what can
else
I do?
can I make?
Yeah, what can I do differently? How can I cater this drink a little bit better toward a guest that's like, oh, I'm not a big fan of this. You can be like, hey, how about we do this instead?
Yeah, I'll take that out and I'll take the vodka out and put the gin in, and it'll blow your mind.
Right. And it's not meant to be mysterious information. It's just not something that a lot of people have experience with. So inadvertently,
I
your
don't know.
guests
You've talked to some bartenders that are like, oh, I can't give you my recipe.
Yeah, which is...
Those are douchers.
Those guys are douchers because, like, first of all...
I went to school for this.
If you think somebody just by having the recipe is going to... That's like Gordon Ramsay giving me his recipe for something and me being like, all right, this motherfucker's out of business now. Like, no way. It's not going to happen. There's so much that goes into that. But yeah, no. So if anyone ever refuses to give you a recipe, they're a douche.
Yeah, they're a straight douche. Okay, and then the last one that I had on the list was a mojito style. So it's essentially taking your 2-1-1, but because we want it lighter, dialing it back a little bit. So doing 1.5 ounces of spirit, 1/2 ounce of juice, 1/2 ounce of sweet with a bunch of muddled mint in it, and then topping that off with soda water. And now, yes.
I just thought of this, and it's not something that's revolutionary, but I think it's really practical for people at home. So far, of the cocktails that we've mentioned, this mojito is a really great platform because it's kind of a built cocktail, which a mule is as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was just thinking, you could get away with doing large batches of a mojito if you measured everything out beside the soda water ahead of time. your guest could go over, grab whatever glass.
Yep. Ladle it in half full
It's got
and
nice,
fucking
sexy,
top it
muddled
up.
mint and stuff in there.
And it'll probably just get more minty the longer it sits.
It'll taste
too.
fantastic. And so you can throw that in your glass, and then you can literally just have a bottle of club soda or cans of Spindrift or something
Or
like that.
a medley of flavors because
Right.
we got like grapefruit,
Right,
raspberry
right.
lime would be dope. We did one with pineapple. I think pineapple is what we did in
Yeah.
our video, and it was amazing.
So that is a really cool option because I mean, think about it: a barbecue, middle of summer, that allows you as the host to not have to make as much stuff.
Totally.
Somebody's like, "Yeah, I want a drink." You're like, "Well, there's the pitcher right there."
Have at it. Choose your flavor.
Yeah, super cool. And then if you do have people that say it's a split kind of party, and some people want vodka or rum or something like that, and then the other side wants whiskey. Well, guess what? All this stuff still tastes really good. You could leave out the mint if you wanted to, or you could leave it in. You could put the ginger syrup in the whiskey one, and you could essentially have like a whiskey mule batch and do the same thing.
Yep.
So a lot of options for you guys to think about that are it's going to just make your life a little easier if you don't have to bartend so much.
Dude, totally.
Although if that's what you're looking to do, if you really enjoy it, then by all means.
then that's
but-
great. But most people don't. It's fun to make like the first few, and then you're like, all right, I'm fucking over this.
Well,
I
and
just want to
once you
hang
get a little
out.
bit drunk, it's like a lot harder.
Oh yeah, well then it turns into more of like actually taking your time and making a good drink into like blurp, 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 blurp in the cup, and there you go.
Yeah.
So okay, so those were the 6. I think we had 6
Five
cocktails.
or six, yeah, something like that.
Anyways, but same thing. So backing up to those, like the lemon drop situation, it tastes even better in our opinion with gin, and it becomes what's known as a boxcar when you put whiskey in it. And then if you use that same boxcar recipe, so 2-1-1, and you add an egg to it, now you have a whiskey sour.
Yep. Everything has a name. You probably won't remember them. Feel free to write them down. I don't remember half of them. The point is, the name doesn't matter.
Yep. The recipe's all the same.
Yeah, it's the exact same.
And who cares? That's the way the bar world works. Like if you make it up, and let's say like your whiskey sour, you have we're a great example. I did a rye whiskey sour with a little bit of Averna. That's how I like it. You know what? Now it's called a Freemason sour. Fuck you. It's a brand new drink. But no, it's the same recipe, just a little bit different ratios.
But it is a good drink.
It is a good drink.
And it is different. And that's the point, right? I mean, it's like...
Well, that would be great. Like when you come up with your cocktail for your party, give it its own name.
give it a
and
name.
now all your friends think you're God.
Yeah, throw it on a chalkboard. You'll blow their minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so easy to impress drunken guests. It really is. That's part of the fun of that's the only reason you host a barbecue, right? Like otherwise it's way easier just to go to somebody else's barbecue.
Exactly. Oh, I love it. Okay, so I think that pretty much unpacks the whole thing.
Yes. So, recap, right?
Yeah.
We did this with a specific purpose, kind of teaming up with Chris at the Talon Bar in Albertsons. $30 straight in and out of the store, everything that you need besides your bottle of booze or multiple bottles, depending on what you're doing. Ton of different drink variations following a very, very similar platform. How you can change them up with all of the ingredients that you already have from your shopping cart. And all of the different variations that you can get with the different booze options on top of that. So say you already have a home bar, say you've got a gin and a vodka and a whiskey, even with just those right there, and then you throw tequila in there, your options just
We didn't
become...
even talk about margaritas. Yeah.
Right.
It's the same thing. Same recipes.
Yeah, exactly. So what about a ginger mint margarita? Now it's like halfway between a ginger mint Paloma and a regular margarita. Well, guess what? I bet it's good.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. And
So-
actually, like a ginger mint Paloma would be easy if you use a grapefruit spindrift on there.
Grapefruit spindrift and house-made ginger syrup.
Syrup. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And that's another one that you could very easily throw in like a big pitcher.
Oh, yep.
And just add
top
your
with soda as you need it.
So anyway, that's kind of the recap. Like the point of all this is that none of this needs to be that confusing or hard or expensive.
Yep.
This one bottle of ginger syrup, in our case, or any house-made syrup, is going to make 16 cocktails.
At least 16 cocktails.
At least 16. And then if you get frisky and you decide to buy another one, so we make a tonic as well. If you have some people coming over that love gin and tonics or vodka tonics, things like that, that's going to stretch it even further. You can still use those Spindrift sodas, which would taste awesome.
Yep. Yeah,
with
buy an
the tonic.
8-pack, because I think an 8-pack was the same price as the 4 singles that I pulled out.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, it was like $4 for an 8-pack or $1 a piece.
Well, and so
out
the
of
other
cooler.
the other cool thing that I didn't really think about is if you're going to the store, you're buying stuff, and that's it. But most of the time when I throw a barbecue, I have people texting me all day long saying, "What should I bring?"
Totally.
Hey, bring chips and salsa and an 8-pack of Spindrift.
Yup.
Things like that, because then you just doubled or tripled the amount of stuff that you can make for your party with just stuff that people are bringing. So instead of being like, "Oh, I don't know what you should bring," bring a bottle of booze, bring a bottle of syrup, bring a bunch of lemons,
Oh, yep.
And so just keep this stuff in mind as you guys are planning.
Barbecues and stuff. Hangouts.
Well, yeah, barbecues this time of year for sure. It's starting to get nice, but like even just a game night. Say you're gonna
Yeah.
be, you don't have to be outside. You can do this exact same shit. Leave the pitcher of drinks on your counter. That way you don't have to leave the game and everyone has to wait on you
Yeah.
to make drinks. You can just bring the pitcher over and be like, "All right, who's ready?"
That's it. Okay, so with all that said, housemadesyrup.com. This whole thing is blog posted and digested into all spirit types, shopping list, mise en place, everything. And then we also have on the same website, link over to YouTube with everything, all the tutorial videos on there as well for absolutely everything. If you really wanted to take one of those virtual cocktail classes, they're already done by the time this is going to be live.
Yeah.
But Chris was saying that he's doing every 3 months or so, like once a quarter-ish.
Yeah. So how does that program work real quick? I don't know if we touched on that.
At this point in time, I really don't have any idea.
Okay, so you give him $30, he buys you stuff at Albertsons, and then you follow along at home
At home, virtual.
virtually. Okay.
Because coronavirus.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all right. That's cool.
So that's how it is. And I don't know, maybe people want to do that with us. Maybe we'll just do our own. Like, if you want, you just have to comment.
I'm super down for that because I like to drink. So here we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, we could do our own virtual class. I think it'd be.
Yeah. So we've talked about doing classes at the bar. And there's a lot of interest, and I think we should do it, but I need to find a way to reel everyone in and find out, like, okay, who is actually interested? Who are these people? Let's get their names down, all that kind of stuff that goes into it. So I haven't done that yet.
All right, we'll blast it out. We're rambling now.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Thanks for listening, guys. Check us next week when we are going to tackle some other bar problem.
Next, we're actually tasting vodka.
Ooh, tasting vodka. Stay tuned. Cheers.
Cheers.